Hello! We're back again with me, with Margaret, a platform where we talk about issues that help us with our engagement, with our motivation, and our education. It's always nice to learn, it's always nice to share, it's always nice to know and find out about things that can help somebody else. So I always like saying, it might not be for you, but you might know somebody. So welcome to me with Margaret. Today we're looking at a subject that is quite controversial, is quite deep, especially when you're moving from one country to the other. It's about being settled but not settled, the housing crisis. Welcome once again to me with Margaret. Just a few days ago, I was speaking with someone in need of housing advice, and it got me thinking about the challenges being faced by immigrants and migrants trying to settle in the United Kingdom. Now, when an individual or family is relocating to an unfamiliar city or country, it's usually important to be settled with a job, business opportunity, or school. But I can tell you for a fact that housing is also extremely important if you want to enjoy every opportunity. Now, this issue remains a huge and ongoing challenge, especially social housing. Now, according to some findings, housing issues most commonly reported are generally around affordable housing, substandard housing, and overcrowded housing. Now, let me expatiate. Let's look at lack of affordable housing. After arrival, new immigrants mostly depend on private rent. But since most of them are unemployed, they can barely pay monthly rent. They can't even give an upfront deposit or insurance. In addition, newly arrived immigrants are unaware of the rules and regulations regarding the rental sector. They also do not know how to sustain or retain the house once they have it. More often than not, private landlords decline to rent their apartments to international, protected beneficiaries. They increase rent, or they find more administrative conditions to look at. It can lead to illegal renting, overcrowding, poor housing conditions, as well as other problems. Substandard housing is another one. Since most immigrants can barely afford to buy or rent their apartments, they have no option but to live in a substandard apartment without complaining. Such houses lack basic utilities and have many quality and sanitary risks, including pest infestation. The houses also are far away from crucial services such as health facilities, public transport, and shopping stores, yet they are forced to pay exorbitant rates. This is about social housing. Now let's look at overcrowding. As mentioned above, the lack of affordable housing can result in overcrowding. This is because most immigrants come in large families or they stay with big families, and this can be about 20 to 15. There can be sanitary issues as a result, and there's so many other risks. There's also the fact that there's a lack of proper documentation and background checks. When buying or renting an apartment, landlords conduct background checks. However, most immigrants lack the legal documentation, which limits their ability to be selective when searching for a house. As a result, they still settle for substandard or overcrowded houses or are exposed to exploitative landlords. Most immigrants are they're most vulnerable to exploitation and discrimination when renting or buying an apartment. Some landlords tend to overcharge rent, ignore maintenance, and threaten to report them to the immigration authorities if they complain or try to fight for their rights. So these findings were consistent with reports on issues facing immigrant communities with little or no social housing. So let's look at some other housing challenges faced by migrant communities. More and more people are living in private rented sector or housing. They pay high rents, which is eating up 30% of their income. And this cost of household bills increases the risk of people being forced out of their homes and into the midst of long-term homelessness. With all that has been said here, So it's important to know that the housing crisis is not going away soon. No, let's be very clear, especially because of the cost of living crisis. To make matters even worse, social housing is becoming more and more like gold. It's extremely important to familiarize ourselves with the policies and the legislation on housing, which, by the way, are constantly changing by the day, to continuous shortages. So, if you are currently faced with housing issues, you may want to consider this. Getting appropriate and relevant advice from the right sources is very important. For example, the Citizens Advice Bureau near you. Get advice. Getting a housing solicitor, especially when you have done everything you can to sort out an housing issue, is also a way out. This applies to either private or social housing. And again, making the best of the situation in the meantime, especially in an overcrowded accommodation. We can also explore opportunities that can keep children engaged, especially with homework and other social skills, especially in the situation that we are in, and things that impact on their mental health. So don't stay in a house when you don't have to. Yes, your house might not be conducive enough, but you can go out there. You can go to a center. You can find out where you can go, where at the library, where your children can go and do some work. Not just homework, not just schoolwork, but even social skills where they can build up themselves. It's about watching ourselves with our mental health. So like I said, the housing crisis is there. But what can we do to make sure that we get the help we can? So thank you for watching me today. If you have any comments, please drop them, say them, share them, like what we've said today, and I'll see you next time on Me with Margaret. Thank you.